There's a lot of misinformation, misconceptions, and myths out there about living well with MS. So I wanted to do a video and share my thoughts, what the research says, and some tips. Living with MS is hard. It is freaking hard. And when there's misinformation out there, it can make it even harder. There are 4 myths about diet and lifestyle changes that I'd like to dispel today. My hope is that by the end of this video, you're going to know how to make some evidence-based changes to your diet and lifestyle to help you manage the symptoms and lessen the severity of MS. So let's jump right in. The first myth: diet doesn't matter. Yes, it does. First, because we live with MS, we're more prone to comorbid conditions, other medical conditions that may impact our health. Some of these are depression and anxiety, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, lung disease, gastrointestinal issues, vascular diseases, osteoporosis, and other autoimmune diseases. Many of these can be affected by our diet. If we eat a poor diet, it may make some of these conditions even worse. Diet is also linked to managing our symptoms and disease severity. There's lots of recent studies showing that what we eat can affect our symptoms and the severity of our disabilities. One of the ones that I really like is the holism study. It's a prospective study, which means they follow people over time, which is different from most other diet studies where they're retrospective. In retrospective studies, they look back at the history of the participants' eating patterns. They rely heavily on their memories, so there can be lots of errors. Prospective studies are less prone to errors and are very well respected. The holism study was started in 2012 and it continues to collect data. In one of the more recent papers, the evidence showed long-term impacts of higher quality of diet in preventing disability progression in people with MS, and higher quality of diet predicted reduced risk of disability progression at 7.5 years. And in this study on the effects of a low-fat plant-based diet on MS, they found the diet group showed significant improvements in measures of fatigue, BMI, and metabolic biomarkers. Okay, fatigue is one of our worst symptoms and one of the leading causes of people with MS leaving the workforce. It also has a huge effect on our quality of life. And the improvements to the BMI and metabolic biomarkers, remember those comorbid conditions? Yeah, it will help with them too. This study comparing the Swank diet to the Walls diet found that both dietary approaches in this study are associated with significant reductions in fatigue and improvements in quality of life. Again, a high quality diet can help us. Yes, diet does matter. What diet is best? Well, that depends on who you ask. I've read research on all the MS diets out there, and they have a lot more in common than they do different. For me, I eat a predominantly whole food plant-based diet. Based on what the research shows, I would say that a diet that's high in fruits and vegetables, low in saturated fats, and eliminates highly processed foods is best. My tip here is to go through your kitchens and get rid of all the processed foods. Fill it with whole, real foods and focus on low saturated fat foods. The next myth is you shouldn't exercise with MS. Not quite. Not too long ago, it was recommended that exercise should be avoided when people had a diagnosis of MS. They thought it could harm us, so we were advised to rest and not move too much. Luckily, we know better now. One of my favorite papers on this topic says this: scientific evidence and expert opinion suggest that exercise may be the single most effective non-pharmacological symptomatic treatment for multiple sclerosis. I love that. It's the second most effective treatment for MS. This is really exciting. Exercise can be an effective treatment for MS. The paper went on to say that there's an ever-strengthening body of research indicating that exercise is safe and effective for improving symptoms of multiple sclerosis. Further, exercise training may be necessary for reducing disease progression. Reducing disease progression. We can improve our symptoms and reduce disease progression. And there's even more good news. This review on the benefits of exercise for MS says that there are 2 areas that exercise can help. Number 1, exercise as symptom management, and number 2, exercise as disease-modifying treatment. The review found that regarding symptomatic outcomes, benefits of exercise training have been reported on symptoms of fatigue, depression, and pain. Exercise training effects have also been observed for lower limb function mobility, participation in everyday tasks, and health-related quality of life. Sounds good to me. Does this sound good to you too? Let me know in the comments. I love hearing from my viewers. When it comes to using exercise as a disease-modifying treatment, the research is less clear because there's not been a lot of research in this area yet. But this review did find that there was improvement in multiple sclerosis functional composite scores in response to exercise training. The multiple sclerosis functional composite is a clinical measure used to assess disability and functional impairment. It does tests in 3 areas: leg function and ambulation, upper extremity function and hand dexterity, and cognitive function. So that's the next tip. We need to exercise. What kind and how much? Excellent questions. The answer is the exercise that you'll do. Find things that you like to do and then do them. It should include a combination of aerobic activities and strength training, and it should be done regularly. I exercise every day. I like to mix it up. I walk almost daily, I lift weights, I dance in Zumba class, and I do yoga. I also highly recommend working with a physical therapist that specializes in MS. Check with your neurologist or MS clinic and see if there's one that you can consult with to get specific exercise and recommendations for you. I'll also put some links in the description below to some online physical therapists that you might find helpful. The next myth: sleep won't help MS fatigue. If I had a nickel for every time I see a post about how sleep doesn't help MS fatigue, I'd be a rich, rich woman. It's simply not true. A review and meta-analysis was done on sleep disturbances and MS fatigue, where they looked at 46 different studies and found some interesting things. First, they state that notably fatigue affects up to 90% of persons with MS and is characterized by subjective feelings of unrelenting exhaustion, lassitude, and tiredness. 90% of us! And that description's pretty accurate, right? Unrelenting exhaustion, lassitude, and tiredness. There are some days this description fits me to a T. Do you ever feel this way? Let me know in the comments. The review went on to say that self-reported measures of insomnia and global sleep quality yielding strong associations with fatigue. You don't say. And the results also demonstrated a strong overlap between sleep disturbance, sleepiness, and fatigue. And in the conclusion, they say this: insomnia, poor sleep quality, restless leg syndrome, and excessive daytime sleepiness were the strongest predictors of fatigue in MS. So the problem seems to be that we're not getting good sleep. There are things that disturb our sleep, like insomnia and restless legs. There are things we can do, though. We can make sure that we have good sleep hygiene habits to give us the best chance at a good night's sleep. I recently did a video on this, and I'll put a link above and in the description below if you'd like to check it out. We can also work with our doctors to see if there are things that we can do to manage insomnia and restless legs. I don't suffer from insomnia, but I do have problems with my left leg. I try to stretch consistently, and I take a muscle relaxer at night to help me get a good night's sleep. The next myth is, it's not stress. It might be. How many of you have been asked by your doctors if you're under any stress or have had stressful events in your life when you're having a flare of symptoms or a relapse? It can sometimes feel like our doctors don't believe that our symptoms are real, or they may be passing them off as just stress. But honestly, they're not. They know that stress can cause very real symptoms. For over 100 years, stress has been considered a trigger for MS. In this review from 2024, they looked at over 30 studies on MS and stress and said this: studies indicate a minor to modest impact of psychological stressors on disease onset, inflammatory activity, and progression of MS. When we're living with stress, our bodies are flooded with stress hormones, and they can cause physical changes in our bodies. If we can manage our stress, it may help reduce disease activity. In this randomized trial, they found that stress management therapy for MS may be useful in reducing the development of new MRI brain lesions while patients are in treatment. Some of the ways that we can manage stress are mindfulness, meditation, spending time in nature, and talking with a therapist. Part of the reason that I started this channel was to share information on how we can help ourselves to live well with our MS and chronic illness. There's so much that we can do to help manage our symptoms, disease severity, and possibly prevent disease progression. If we take exquisite care of ourselves by eating the healthiest foods we can find, exercising every day, getting the best sleep we can, and managing our stress, we can live better with our disease. What do you think? Have I busted some of the myths around diet and lifestyle changes for you? Will you try to make changes to support your body to be as healthy as possible? Will you try to take exquisite care of yourself? Let me know in the comments below. To help support this channel, please subscribe and share the videos. Thanks so much. To see more on the benefits of diet and lifestyle changes, watch this video next. And until next time, be well.